The central theme of the entire Quran is what Muslims call Tawheed, meaning the oneness or unity of God, or roughly monotheism. This idea signifies not only the concept of God, but also how human beings should relate to Him. The Quran is full of descriptions of God and refers to Him with many names and attributes. For example, it describes Him as the creator of the heaven and the earth in Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter number 2, verse number 162. God is also described as Al-Hayy, Al-Qayyum in chapter number 2, verse number 255, which is the Ayatul Kursi. The eternal and the self-existent being who sustains all of existence. He is described as the all-powerful and the all-knowing, the most merciful and the just, among many other names and qualities, from the same roots as the word Tawheed. God is described as Ahad, which is the one, in Surah Al-Ikhlas, chapter number 112, verse number 1, meaning one or unique. The principle behind all of God's description in the Quran is that to God is the highest description in chapter number 16, Surah Al-Nahl, verse number 60, and then chapter number 30, verse number 27. And that there is nothing comparable to Him in chapter number 110, verse number 4. The concept of God in the Quran is that of a being who is perfect in every respect, eternal, personal, all-powerful, all-knowing, and infinitely good, to whom nothing else can be compared. Nothing shares in His divinity, and He must be worshipped alone. Although God is transcendent, He is also close to His creatures by virtue of His compassion and awareness, as stated in Quran chapter number 2, Surah Al-Baqarah, verse number 186, and then chapter number 50, verse number 6, verse number 16. The concept of God's exclusive divinity and unique perfection is summarized in the word for God in Arabic, which means Allah. Most scholars of Arabic language consider this word to be a contradiction of al-ilah, meaning the God or the one worthy of worship. It is a cognate to one of the two main Hebrew words for God in the Bible, Elohim, or its shorter form, El and Eloah. And as well as the name for God is in Aramaic, the language spoken by Jesus, Elaha. The God of the Quran is therefore the same God worshipped in Judaism and Christianity. You can see these examples in chapter number 3, which is Ali Imran, verse number 54, and in chapter number 29, verse number 46. The God of the biblical patriarch Abraham. From the Quran's perspective, however, it is not enough to simply affirm God's divine perfection in a theoretical or abstract way. Human beings must also relate to God in their daily lives by worshipping and serving Him and not worshipping anything besides Him. The Quran concepts of worship, ibadah, and servitude or slavery, ubudiyya, to God is comprehensive. It does not only refer to ritual acts of devotion, but also regulates how a person conducts himself throughout the day, including how he or she interacts with other people. A faithful Muslim strives to please God in all actions, and the Quran concept of worship gives every aspect of life, not just the ritual aspect, profound purpose and meaning, encouraging people to reach the heights of their moral and spiritual potential. This is the idea expressed in one of the most comprehensive verses of the Quran, in which God announces, I have not created jinn and the mankind except to worship God, to worship and serve me, which is in chapter number 51, verse number 56. From the Quran's perspective, this concept of God is not a novel or an alien philosophy, but a truth that is deeply embedded in the human conscience, as stated in chapter number 30, verse number 30 of the Quran, in chapter number 7, verse number 107. This spiritual instincts, however, can become weakened, obscured, or distorted as a result of sins and other corrupting influences. To revisualize it, the Quran directs the human beings to signs, ayahs of God in nature, and the human experience, which provide evidence or remind. Chapter number 20, verse number 44. The individual of his presence, creative power, providence, greatness, wisdom, and purpose, and stimulates in the human conscience the desire to worship him alone. For example, the Quran says, in the creation of the heaven and earth, and the alternation of the night and day, and ships that sail through the sea, with that which benefits people, and what God sends down of water from the sky, giving life thereby to the earth after its lifelessness, and dispersion on it all kinds of beasts, and in changing of the winds and the clouds that run their appointed courses between the heavens and the earth, there are signs, ayahs, for people who reason. Chapter number 2, Surah Al-Baqarah, verse number 462. In the creation of heaven and the earth, the alteration of night and day, there is signs, ayats, for those of understanding who remember God while standing or sitting or lying on their sides, and reflect over the creation of the heaven and earth, saying, our Lord, you did not create this aimless. Chapter number 3, verse number 190 to 191. The term ayah is found all over the Quran, occurring almost 400 times. As we will see later in this chapter, the Quran uses the term not only in the reference to God's natural signs in creation, but also his verbal revelation and miracles given to prophets. What this subsection in the Quran or in the book Divine Speech teaches us is that with monotheism, God doesn't only direct the Muslims to just believe that there is one God. The Quran, time and again, provides examples to its readers in order to affirm their reasoning in knowing that there is only one God. In the case of this, God uses ayats, or the signs that are surrounding us, or the signs that we can witness, or things that we can see and witness with our eyes forehand, to prove to us that there is only one God and he only deserves worship. Other than other scriptures, the Quran uses this way of teaching its audience to reason and to make sense out of what they are doing in order to accept the truth. If you watch to this far end and you like the video, please give it a like and subscribe for more. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video where we'll talk about the other two concepts as the introduction gave us. And I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.